This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live. Welcome to the North Georgia Life Podcast. It's Jake, your host. Today's episode is going to be all things Georgia State Parks. So this is going to give you some great insights into planning a really awesome year in 2021 and doing some fun things, not just in our North Georgia region, but including our North Georgia region, but all over the state of Georgia, and exploring some of the just hidden treasures that we have throughout our state. And this has given me some things that I'm putting on my goals list for 2021, which I encourage you all to do. I was sharing with some people somewhere in the last month or two. Lord willing, we are all going to end up in the future. The whole point of having goals and for me having a vision board and things like that is so that the future you end up in is the future you actually want to end up in. Otherwise, we're just all kind of living life by default, and where we end up is where we end up, and it wasn't really planned, it wasn't really intentional, we just kind of got there because we got there. Having goals, having a vision board, dream board, whatever you want to call it, gives you a propulsion into a future that is actually exciting to you and you look forward to. And so many of the things in our world and around us are just always tugging at us, bringing us down, making us worry, stress, whatever. And having stuff like this where you can, there's not a whole lot of expense in it. There is a little bit of planning involved, but if you actually engage in doing stuff like this, it will make your year, and I would say your outlook on this year to come, way better than the last year, which we could all use. The second thing that I want to share in relation to the podcast in moving forward is I apologize for it's almost been a month and a half since the last episode. I actually had this episode recorded about a month or so ago, and I've just been so, thankfully busy in the world of real estate that I just hadn't had time. And then, Christmas come up and family stuff and all sorts of stuff like that. When we got a puppy, because we're smart. Oh my gosh, puppies. We love our puppy, but my gosh, I'm starting to think we named it the wrong thing. We named her Utah. We probably should have named her Trash Compactor, because I think the dog will eat anything and everything that there is available. She has no palate whatsoever, so maybe we'll enroll her in the Finer Things Club in 2021. So anyway, you are going to love this episode. I hope it encourages you to put some things on your map for 2021 and having a great year to come. Hey, look, I know our world is surrounded with all sorts of negativity and less than positive things. Can I promise you there's still so much good in our world and in the country and the place we call home. Start looking for it and you'll start seeing it. With that, this will be the last episode of 2020, and looking forward to 2021. As always, if you have small businesses, things like that you want to support and be a part of growing their audience base in the year to come, please send those to us. You can email us at northgeorgialifepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, North Georgia Life Podcast. And with that, we'll get started. Welcome to the North Georgia Life Podcast. Today's episode is, I think, going to be really interesting and not just educational, but give all of us, hopefully, a deeper appreciation for the treasure that we have in living in the state of Georgia. So today is kind of a different episode than normal. We are going to be speaking with Kim Hatcher, who is the Public Affairs Coordinator for the Parks Department for the state of Georgia, the DNR. So she oversees so many different things, is involved in different things, and has done different things that most of us kind of take for granted that call Georgia home now, and she's been an integral part of some of those things. And so we're going to hear a little bit about her story and just getting into that role, and she's got a long tenure with the state and just this capacity. So just as far as experiential experiential knowledge of all sorts of different things. She's got a lot to share with us. So with that, Kim, we'll go ahead and get started. So this is our first phone podcast episode, so hopefully the sound comes out well. But Kim, thanks for your time.
Well, thank you for inviting me to talk to you.
So are you a Georgia native? We should have asked you that.
I am. I've actually never lived anywhere but Cobb County.
Really?
Yeah. If you don't count college, which was in Athens.
So you've been in Cobb County how long then? Like your whole life? Like you were born in Cobb County?
I was born in Smyrna. Yeah.
Get out of here.
And I live in East Cobb now, but I love traveling all throughout Georgia.
You could be like the Cobb County tourism director. Cobb County's changed a little bit in just even a couple decades, but certainly a lifetime.
Yes, it has. It has grown a lot. Well, Georgia as a whole, of course, has grown a lot.
Yes. Georgia is changing rapidly, just every year. So when you went to school, you went to school at UGA.
I did.
What did you go knowing you wanted to do something in state parks growing up?
It was tough deciding what to do. I've always had a passion for nature and travel, but also had a feeling like you need to go into business, find a job that you can get that, be successful. So I majored in journalism and public relations and just feel incredibly fortunate to have been able to blend that with a love of parks and nature and getting outside and travel. I'm very fortunate.
Mm-hmm. And did you go straight into your current role straight out of school?
I spent a few years working at Georgia State University doing some media relations for the university, but then was very lucky that a friend of mine worked for the Georgia State Parks and Historic Sites in the Department of Natural Resources, and I told her that someday when you leave, I want your job. And they actually did not fill her position for a few years, but I still had that connection to get an interview. So, yeah, this is my second real job.
Wow. That is a rare thing in this day and age. And you've been in your current role for how long?
For about 26 years.
26 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've been to all of the state parks, all of the state historic sites that are operated by the Department of Natural Resources. So there's always something new. It's always interesting.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into. So you have done everything from just I don't want to say the day-to-day communication, PR side of things to actually being involved in creating state parks. I don't even know where to start with something that expensive.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm definitely not involved in creating the new state parks, but I do get to tell people about them when we have our grand openings or when we have our groundbreakings.
So let's start with the groundbreaking, because most of us that call North Georgia home have not had the opportunity to be part of a launch of a state park or maybe one close to us. Take us through, like, how does that even, like, that just seems like such a huge undertaking. How does that even start? Where do you get involved in the process? I imagine a lot of this land that has become state parks over the years were either a family was donated or was in some sort of conservancy or something like that, some other protected property that ends up coming under the state jurisdiction, and then a park is open. Tallulah is one of those, correct?
Yeah, there's actually no one answer to that question because each park is unique. Tallulah Gorge is actually property owned by Georgia Power, and so the creation of that state park was a partnership with Georgia Power. They generate power from the dam that's people see when they go hike the trails at Tallulah Gorge. Another example is Smithgall Woods State Park in Helen. Mr. Smithgall gift purchased, the state, it was gift purchased to the state the land that he owned. It's more than 5,000 acres that he owned, and he built a house and he built cabins for his friends and family to visit. It's an amazing property, and he wanted to make sure that it was protected. And so now it is a state park where people can go stay and fish and hike and enjoy.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. We actually might go up there tomorrow, Friday. I don't even remember what day it is. I can't remember. This year, I literally every week I have to check what day it is. So
I think we're all in that boat.
Yeah, we're heading up to Clayton for the weekend, so we may stop at Smith Gall to do a quick hike on the way up there. But a lot of people don't associate the parks, the DNR, natural resources with the historical landmarks, tourist attractions, and things like that. They just think, a park is a park. It's an outdoor thing, but it's not necessarily an outdoor thing. Can you speak a little bit on some of those things? I don't know if you have any favorites, but we have everything in our state from the Native American cultural sites and historic sites. You've got, obviously, the Dahlonega Gold Rush and all the things that went along with that. We've got things on the coast. You've got like a ton of different things. This is why one of the reasons I love North Georgia, because we have so many different things around us. Do you have any favorites? Can you kind of give a soft introduction to some of those aspects of the Parks Department?
So the DNR is over state parks and state historic sites. You're right, we do have such a rich, varied history here. A lot of people don't realize that our nation's gold rush actually began in northern Georgia, not in California, the way a lot of people think. So that story is told in the Gold Museum, which is in the middle of the square in Dahlonega, and it was actually renovated recently. So if people haven't been in several years, now would be a good time to go back. Down on the coast, what's interesting there is a lot of people are more familiar with the Civil War history that we have in our country, but we have Revolutionary War forts, too, down on the coast that you can go see. I really like Fort King George because the buildings there are recreated. They're not original buildings, so I guess it's a little more touchy-feely. You can climb up into the blockhouse and look out the windows over the river and imagine that time period, and so it's very hands-on. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that there are walking trails at a lot of the historic sites as well. Some people will go to Etowah Indian Mounds in Cartersville just to take that pretty walk among all the earthen mounds, these ancient earthen mounds, and then go along the river. The birding is good. There's pretty wildflowers. It's just a nice, peaceful place to visit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's more to do than just go take a picture next to, XYZ at all of these parks. That's part of what I love about it.
So. Yeah, and our historians do a really good job of making history come alive. Now, of course, during 2020, things have been very different. But normally they would have a lot of programs, and they would teach maybe flint knapping, how to make arrowheads, or take guided tours. So, they do definitely bring history to life. The cannon firings down on the coastal forts are really exciting. That's a good time to go and just hear that loud boom going across the river or the marsh.
Are those done on certain times, or?
It varies. They do have annual programs where they focus on why that site is historic, what happened there.
Gotcha.
And then sometimes they'll do them for smaller programs. We have a event calendar on our website, and of course this year it doesn't have nearly as many programs as usual.
Right.
But on a normal year, there are literally hundreds of programs being hosted by park rangers and historians across Georgia.
So let's touch on that, because the park rangers, you guys have had to adapt, like everybody in the world right now, with how to still provide service, education, and do some of those things while in the midst of trying to figure out how we get out of this COVID mess and whatever. Can you share a little bit about some of the things that you guys have been able to do just to still try to keep people connected, involved, and enjoying different things about the parks?
Yeah, it was really a big deal, particularly to the historic sites, because they host so many school groups and homeschool groups. And so when they closed for a while, they quickly shifted and started doing videos. We call it our E-Ranger series, and there are videos on gastateparks.org that you can look at and still learn about Georgia's history. And so they've definitely adapted very well. We have a junior ranger program where kids can earn badges from each individual site by doing all kinds of activities that are related to that site, and most of those can be done on their own. Some of the activities can even be done at home if they're nature-based, like nature crafts or going out and identifying trees and learning about butterflies. So those are things that kids can do on their own as well.
Yeah. And it's way more constructive than having your kids on social media.
Yes.
I guess from a standpoint of I don't even know what a typical park would be, because they're all so different. But can you share just a few minutes of all of the different activities that you have? I mean, you guys have everything. We went to. We did an episode with Cloudland Canyon State Park. They have frisbee golf. I didn't know if any parks had frisbee golf. You have parks that have horseback riding trails, bike trails, all sorts of different things like that. Water sports. You have free reign to talk about all of the things that the state parks have and how people find out about those activities. What's there? What they would need to bring with them. Just kind of take it from there.
Sure. Well, for people who are new to Georgia and don't really know the variety of scenery that we have, we've got the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So we've got mountains in northern Georgia, and then we have coast of salt marsh. We've got the Okefenokee Swamp, which is one of the most amazing, beautiful, most must-see places in this country. We have dozens of lakes and rivers and just so much variety of scenery in Georgia, which means that the state parks offer a wide variety of things to do. We've got easy nature trails where you could take even a kid in a stroller. Some of the trails are paved. There's a paved trail at Tallulah Gorge called the Short Line that you could push a wheelchair or a stroller on. And then, of course, we've got all-day backpacking trails. We've got everything in between, mountain biking, like you mentioned, horseback riding. A few parks even have guided horseback rides.
Really?
Yeah, Don Carter State Park on Lake Lanier is one of those.
I didn't know that.
But, of course, most people are going just to enjoy being outside and getting some exercise and breathing fresh air. It's so good for your soul.
Yes.
To be out on the trails. We have a variety of boating. We have kayak tours at some parks. You can bring your stand-up paddleboards. You can bring fishing boats. We've got many parks that have big ramps, and sometimes they'll have fishing tournaments where a lot of people are getting out on the water at the same time. And other activities like geocaching. We have mini golf, archery classes. There's playgrounds. We have 18-hole golf courses that have pro shots, and they're really affordable. I think many of the courses are about $30 for a round of golf.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
This is something that I found out this year through the course of doing some of these podcasts and talking with people. Is there's a lot of accommodations at the parks beyond just a tent site. So a lot of them do have tent sites. So for people who want to, go tent camping, there's opportunities to reserve tent spots and stuff like that. But there's a lot more options than most people realize, especially when people are just trying to get away for a quick weekend, or everybody needs to just go unplug for a week, and you're just going to, take time off. Can you share a little bit about what some of those options are, how people go about finding them, and just kind of the variety?
Sure. So if you go to gastateparks.org, of course, there's a list of all the facilities that you can rent. And our campgrounds, they're modern campgrounds, so they'll have a central bathhouse with hot showers. And the campsites have water and electric hookups. Some of them have sewage hookups for RVers. Many of the campsites, they have what's called pull-through, which makes it easy to maneuver the larger RVs in and out. But then we also have sites that are for tents only. I personally really like the walk-in campsites because you park in a central area and you carry your gear just a little bit further into the woods, so that you're still in a developed campground. You can walk to the bathhouse, but you have a little bit more privacy around you. If a lot of tent campers appreciate that.
Yeah.
We also welcome people to bring their dogs to the campgrounds.
Okay.
We know your pets are family too,
mm-hmm.
and dogs like camping as well. But you're right. A lot of people want that soft bed and that beautiful mountain cabin with a view. So we have cabins all across Georgia. In the past several years, we have been renovating many of them, and some of them are just stunning. The new cabins at Red Top Mountain State Park on Lake Allatoona are gorgeous, and the ones at Fort Mountain, which is in Chatsworth, it's like the middle of the North Georgia mountains, they're just beautiful mountain cabins. Hard Labor Creek State Park, which is it's east of Atlanta. It's kind of near Social Circle, near Rutledge.
Yep.
They have really nice renovated cabins as well. But we know that some people kind of like that in between.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past several years, we have added yurt villages at about 6 state parks. And it's glamping. It's glamour camping.
Yes.
So if you have one person who loves to camp, and then you have one person who says, I want a soft bed and a roof over my head,
yep.
Yurts are the perfect combination between the two, because you've got your furniture inside. There's futons and a ceiling fan and tables and electricity on the inside. But on the outside, you've got a picnic table and a fire ring and a grill. You can have your s'mores. You can sit out and enjoy a campfire and look at the stars above, and then go inside to sleep on the futons in the yurt.
I think you just sold everybody that's been holding out on going camping, because for our 21st century world, I think that's a good transition spot for people getting out from the comfort of their own home to experiencing some of the great outdoors, and then maybe the next time it's a walk-in site. That's what I love. I love just being out and making fire and waking up to campfire. I love that kind of stuff. So, but that's a good way to get people out to experience the parks in a way that they don't feel like they've got to have some Eagle Scout badge to survive.
Exactly. And if you think you want to go camping, but you don't want to buy a tent, and I highly recommend, if you are going to camp, buy a good quality tent, and that can be expensive. So try out your yurt first.
Mm-hmm.
See how you like it.
Yep. Any? I know this is probably an unfair question given your longevity in your position. Do you have any favorite memories, or just things that just were just kind of hallmark moments along the years?
Actually, my husband and I were just talking about this, because we went to Vogel State Park recently in Blairsville.
Mm-hmm.
They have some nice renovated cabins, and there was one night in the campground where there weren't that many people. I think it was during the week, and I have never seen so many lightning bugs in my life, and it was just the most magical experience. You could even lay there in your tent and leave it zipped open and just watch all the lightning bugs in the trees and hovering around the ground, and you can't buy that experience.
Yeah.
You luck into that experience.
Yeah. For people who want to get connected beyond just going for a weekend or something like that, can you share a little bit about some of the season passes, annual passes, different memberships, things that you guys are involved with in just kind of a greater scope of people getting involved with the great outdoors?
So when you visit a Georgia State Park, you pay $5 to park, and that you can load the whole family into the minivan. It's just $5 for the day. But a lot of people come often, so they choose to buy an annual pass, which is $50. And if you're 62 or older, they're half off. And many people join the Friends of Georgia State Parks, and with your membership comes one of those annual passes. We call it a park pass, but also some discounts on camping and golf. We have a wonderful program with Georgia's public libraries where you can check out a park pass and also a historic site pass, just like you're checking out a book. And you can keep it for a week or two and go around and explore. So I really encourage people to do that, and especially if you have an annual pass, go find a park that you've never heard of before, particularly in Middle and South Georgia. If you live in North Georgia and you really want to getaway, like, a long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Middle and South Georgia have some absolutely gorgeous, quiet, peaceful places to sit back and relax, but you don't see it when you're driving on the interstates because all you see are, the businesses and the billboards.
Right.
You have to get off the interstates and take those back roads to really appreciate it.
And this time of year, the fall, winter, if you are not a fan of the the climate in South Georgia in the spring and summer months, this is a great time of year to do it because my wife's grandmother lives in South Georgia, and it's actually nice going down there for Christmas or over the winter because it's still pretty comfortable. And so if you don't like getting bundled up and going out for a hike in the cold weather in North Georgia, it's a great opportunity to go explore and be outside and be maybe a little more comfortable if that's your thing.
Yeah, exactly. And watch some pretty sunsets in the wide open spaces and over some of the lakes. We were talking about Providence Canyon earlier, and people call it Georgia's Little Grand Canyon. And it's actually all caused by erosion from poor farming practices, but it turned into this really cool place to visit. It's very photogenic. And there's a park nearby called Florence Marina, which is on a lake, and they have cabins and campsites. So winter would be a really good time to go stay at Florence Marina and then just 15 minutes drive away, go visit Providence Canyon when it's not so hot, because in the summer that's quite a hot place to be.
Yes, that is a great suggestion. So real quick before I forget, because I found this out the hard way, on your on the campsites, the reservations, you said it was gaparks.org, and then you just go to reservations tab or something like that for the yurts and the cabins and things like that.
So to make a reservation, you go to gastateparks.org.
Okay.
And we take reservations 13 months in advance to the day, and I highly recommend you really do that.
Yes.
If you want to go to a mountain park in the fall, especially if you want to book your favorite cabin for the fall, go ahead and do it now for next fall. A lot of people will spend their holidays in a park, and they'll rent out 3-4 cabins for their families, extended family. It's a good idea to plan those really far in advance.
Yes, that's what we found out the first time we were trying to make a reservation. I'm like, this can't. I was like, maybe there's a glitch on the on the site. It's like there's nothing available. It's like surely nobody's booking cabins in the state park 9-10 months out. And sure enough, that is a thing. So for people who know, and I think that says something about. Not just the environment and the cabin itself, but just once people go, it's like, oh, we're doing this every year, and that's why they stay booked out. So do not snooze on that if you want to do something in the coming year.
Yeah. And the same thing happens to me when I go looking online. I'll get so excited and think, oh, I'm going to go kayaking down at George L. Smith this weekend, and it's booked.
Yep.
So I've learned to plan pretty far ahead. And we also take site-specific reservations. So when you're camping, you go ahead and you pick out that site that you want ahead of time. The advantage is, it used to be if you couldn't reserve the specific site you wanted, you had to take a day off if you were going for the weekend and be the first person there on Friday morning or Thursday night. And so now you know in advance that, campsite 21 is going to be yours.
Right. Yes, that is worth that tidbit of experiential wisdom and reservations is probably worth the whole podcast for people who are wanting to get in, because I didn't know that before we started the process of looking for a cabin reservation sometime last year, and that I just my own little trade secret. If you call and talk to somebody there in like the guest relations or the gift shop or something like that, they'll tell you which ones are the best the best sites.
Yeah, that's true. Most parks do have sites that everybody wants, those campsites. And we also have a feature on the reservation page it's called This Weekend's Availability. And if you click that, it will show you all of the parks that have at least some camping or cabins open for that coming weekend. And now I think on Thursdays it might be too late. It might show you the next weekend.
Gotcha.
But if you look on Monday, you can see what is available for the coming weekend.
That's great. So that way, if you're like, all right, we're getting out of here this weekend, I don't know where we're going, but we're not staying here, you can go online and find somewhere, and you're like, all right, take a Griswold field trip. And
yeah. Yeah, and it's a good way to find parks that are not as well known. Like Victoria Bryant State Park is in northeast Georgia, it's near Royston. It's a pretty park with this quiet campground. I love these little wooden platforms that they have for tents that even have a roof over the platform. It has a golf course and hiking trails and a really pretty creek that kids play in the summer. It just doesn't have the name recognition that, say, Unicoi or Black Rock Mountain have, but it's a nice, quiet place to go for a few days.
Why we do the podcast, give people these little hidden treasures in the place, in the area to explore. So you guys have different programs or adventures. I don't know if adventure series is the right way of saying it, but for people who have specific interests, whether it's hiking, the challenging hikes, mountain biking, things of that nature, where that's kind of somebody's wheelhouse. They really like the challenges. They're a diehard mountain biker. They're maybe even a dog walker. So can you share with us a little bit about some of those different programs that you guys have put together for people to enjoy in their own little kind of niche interest?
Yeah, we found that a lot of people love a quest. They love a mission and being given, these are the places that you should go and accomplish something. So we started these, we call them clubs, but you do them on your own or with your friends and family. And you buy a membership card and you get a T-shirt, and the Canyon Climbers Club challenges you to go to Cloudland Canyon, Amicalola Falls, Tallulah Gorge, and down to Providence Canyon in South Georgia. And so it just gives you this mission of places to explore. There's one for kayaking. It's called the Park Paddlers Club. But my favorite is Tales on Trails Club. And so it challenges you to go hiking and dog walking all across Georgia, and with the T-shirt that you get with that club, your dog also gets a matching bandana to wear while hiking.
That is awesome, and it's one of those things that I think you guys are like spot on. Everybody wants to be engaged in some sort of mission or purpose or however you want to call that, and what a great way to be able to explore parts of our state and these treasures that otherwise you may not really push yourself to get out and go to, and you're doing it with a purpose. And I could probably say, even though I haven't been to all of the ones you just mentioned, the ones that I have been to, it's like, oh my gosh, I want to go back, because they're all so unique, but they're so pretty, and it's the adventure of going to begin with, of just getting, whether it's just you and your spouse, the whole family, the dog, whatever, and just going out for an adventure for the day or the weekend or the week. And now you've got a program where you can kind of tie that in. So if you're that family that you've got kids that you want to help, you want to wear out and give them something to accomplish, and you want to do the Canyon Climbers, that's 4 in a year, so that's once a quarter. It'd probably be the best year that you had together as a family, doing those things together and exploring some of the rest of the park, other than just hiking up and down those very challenging hikes. Don't want to discount that.
Yeah, it definitely is it's encouragement to get out and explore places that you've never been. So you're right, it's a good thing to do with your family. Spending, building those memories. That's probably what kids are going to remember, far more than the time they spent on electronics.
Yes. I've got a coworker that she is adamant that her kids may not always have the newest electronics, but she is investing in their experiences in life while they're still home and growing under her roof. So something that I think is awesome. All right, so one of the things I like to do before we wrap up every episode is called the lightning round, which is a question that has usually nothing to do with anything. But you have been in effectively your hometown, the Cobb County area, for the balance of your life. I want to know, what is I won't go back your whole life, but since COVID hit, let's call it in March, what's the best thing you've eaten in Cobb County since March?
The best thing I've eaten? I don't think it's in Cobb County. That's the problem.
Okay.
Because we haven't been going out or even getting food to go. We've been staying at home, but there's I love Eats downtown Atlanta.
Okay. Well, that counts. Okay. Can you give us where your social media sites, how people find you on those? If somebody wants to reach out and start exploring some of these different programs, state parks, all those sorts of things, where do they get started? Where do they go?
So we do have a really strong presence on Facebook. You can find us at Georgia State Parks, and I try to post a lot of photos and share things from the other parks, from our parks that have their own Facebook pages. You can find us on Instagram at GA State Parks. And
okay.
We do have a newsletter that goes out every month. You can find that on gastateparks.org. You can sign up to get that sent to your email. But I really encourage people to follow us on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the place again where they go to make reservations, is that just on the website, or is there another way to go find out reservations and availability?
You can call us at 1-800-864-PARK, which is 7275, and they will help you make a reservation there. You can also ask for a free brochure. We have a nice, it's actually at the printer right now, so we'll have a brochure out soon. We put one out every year. And, gastateparks.org is a really great resource. And
how many parks are there total now? 60-something?
There's 64 state parks and state historic sites.
Wow, 64. Any idea on what kind of geographic area that covers?
We've got more than 84,000 acres within the park system.
Wow.
Yeah, and these are all under the Department of Natural Resources.
Awesome. Yep, we got a pretty neat treasure here in Georgia. So, well, Kim, I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you so much for your time and just kind of sharing your background and your knowledge base with us. And I hope that you will have some more Tales and Trails. Was it Tales and Trails?
Tales on Trails Club.
Tales on Trails. So hope you have some more people with their pets just getting out and getting some fresh air and just enjoying the state parks with their families in the coming year. And hopefully it's more back to normal in the coming year. So
thank you. I've really appreciated the opportunity to tell everybody about the parks.
Cool. Well, thanks. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live.